Hello and welcome back to another episode of Beyond Data Management Podcast, brought to you on device of your choice every week by HS GovTech. I'm your host, Cameron Garrison, and today is going to be fun. So first of all, I'm not going to be alone in the studio, which is nice. A lot of times we have to have people, because we talk to people from all around the country, come in virtually and Zoom, things of that nature. So first big fun part is we're going to have company today. And the second one is we always say and talk about every week, brought to you and powered by HS GovTech. And in a lot of cases, you'll hear the guests talk about it because they've implemented software, and data management's a very important part. But we don't usually look inward and just talk about the company. It's the platform for the EH community here. But today we are going to do that because we need to let you all in on some really exciting things going on here and talk a little bit about some of the vision for the future from HS GovTech. And we've had some changes over the past few months, and that's all been very good because we're growing and scaling, and it's exciting. And so I have the honor and privilege today of having two guys in the studio. So kind of a perilous fraught for me because over the last 7 years or so here at HS, this room contains the total of all of my bosses, including my current one. So like no pressure. Like, we talk to people, whether it's like, AFTO or NEHA or directors of departments, but it's a little more on my toes when it's my bosses from my day job. So in May of this year, HS took an exciting step towards continuing to grow and serve the community better. And that was we brought in a new CEO. And as you know, Silas is as a founder here. Silas and I have been at HS and in the EH market for a long time. And Silas, so it's interesting, Silas, so first of all, let me actually do the proper host here. Is Eric Thomas, who's from Dallas and is joining us here in studio, and the new CEO here at HS GovTech, and a familiar face to all of you all, Silas Garrison, no relation, kidding, brother, as you all know, and the previous CEO, now CTO here at HS GovTech. And so Silas, like starting sort of, when you've done this as long as we have, and at more than one company, HS is the third company I was involved in, starting in serving the community in this market. And it's the same for you, lots of late night conversations, lots of times at family get-togethers, we break the rule of our wives, and
always get in trouble for that.
Always get in trouble, like, you guys are going to talk work. Yeah. No, promise, not this time. They know it's not going to happen. But there's been a lot of conversations because as a company grows, like, there's a difference between the work of founding based on a vision and growing into a space. And then, we find ourselves successfully with over 1,000 agencies on the platform. And we, not to, air private conversations too much, but there have been many conversations that comes with certain elements, especially in your role as CEO, and even in previous roles and involvements I've had here. There are some things that you have to do to grow the business and to serve all of those agencies that trust us well. But how many conversations did we have about, man, wouldn't it be great if we could just get back to roots? Like, you built the product initially. It came out of like your mind and imagination. And we have talked about it for so long. I don't know if we actually thought that day would come, but here we are.
Yeah.
So you're in the CTO chair now, which does let you go back to your core passion, which is the product, and that product for our people. So but it's, I know that the people always ask how you feel about it. You've actually, like, I can, again, airing inside baseball conversations, but you were really excited because it gives you that ability to do what you love.
Yeah. As I say a lot, especially internally, I care about outcomes. Outcomes is always what I'm focused on, especially for our customers. And it does go back to my kind of genesis story of how I even got into GovTech in the first place, environmental health and more. Self-taught software engineer, turned entrepreneur, turned, growth into EH. And that self-taught pattern is really where, you find yourself in a CEO position and you're like, there's a lot that I can make an impact for, a lot that I can drive outcomes for. And it's really beneficial to have a partner who can help drive those outcomes that honestly, you just get too busy. You get spread too thin. And there's one thing that I know is going to make the greatest impact. And in this day and age of, rapidly changing technology, not just because of AI, it's just where we're at in the world. It's just high time that we focus on speed, not just speed in delivery, not just speed of innovation. And that just takes focus. So being able to step back to, you can call it my roots, my strengths. I think passion is probably the best word. Being able to actually focus on those things where my passion can bring the most impact. I love that. And I think that anybody, in a career field should be looking for that. And so for me, I feel very privileged to kind of be sitting here with partners that we can actually drive the most meaningful outcomes.
Yeah. And so, Eric, it is, and I promise when you're not here, obviously people are going to think, of course you're saying that. But I say it when you're not here, the other people, it's been really exciting. And again, so in full disclosure, when it first was, the transition was going to happen, I'm human, apprehension.
Yeah.
But wow, did the organization pick well, and it's just been great to get to know you. And so I know I've been almost nagging you for the past several weeks and a couple months. Hey, we got to do a podcast. I really want the community, our community to meet you. So first of all, welcome. It has been great. And I also just want to start to both of you because it sort of bridged both of your times in the CEO chair. And I know I'm speaking on behalf of the audience here to thank you so much for powering, is saying the tagline, but for the commitment and helping make this podcast a reality. I went last night just to take a refresher look at kind of the metrics, and we've crossed the 24,000 average viewers per episode.
Wow.
And so that is Joe Rogan, that is
major.
not,
But that's major.
But it's a lot because it's the community,
right?
And
right.
they interact, they engage. We just did an episode that was entirely user and community stories and questions, and I have had a lot of people in person and in written communication say thank you to me for doing it, because so much conversation happens about these guys are invisible, guys and ladies in the EH profession. And this is one of those rare chances to try to help in some small way remedy that. And so on behalf of the community, but myself, thank you, because it's not only been fun, but the community is excited about it. You get scared when you do a podcast early on. You're like, are we going to be able to book the guests? Are people going to want to talk to us?
Yeah.
And now we get booked way out because a lot of people want to come on and talk with the community. So just as a thank you, and of course thank you to the company for supporting that for the community. It's continuation of the commitment to it that the company's had since inception, but it's not unnoticed, and I really appreciate it. But about you, so yeah, tell us about yourself, because you've had a very successful career, and maybe talk about what lured you into coming to this crazy bunch that is us. We've never claimed perfection.
Yeah.
And there are times you'll stumble into things like, what's going on here? I'm like, yeah, maybe we could have done that better. So there's obviously a lot that you're looking at and helping to scale, but tell us about your history and journey, and ultimately leading to the decision to come lead this crew into the next phase of growth for this company.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on the podcast today. I'll say, you said you've been twisting my arm. It wasn't much of a twist, because one of the things I did, one of the first things I did when I was joining the company as part of my onboarding and acclimation was to listen to the podcast.
Oh, awesome.
And I think I mentioned that to you. It was a good way for me to get some insights into how we connect with our community. And, with the different guests that you had on and the different podcasts I was able to listen to, it just gave me insights and a great appreciation for who we serve in terms of with our platform and our solutions. So wasn't much arm twisting needed to bring me here. So I appreciate the opportunity to connect with both of you today. My background, I started my career in IT in telecom. I cut my teeth as a project manager, so mostly has been in the professional services arena the majority of my career. I've done a number of different leadership roles in sales and operations, even served as the chief diversity officer for my previous company for a small bit, all of which I think prepared me for being the right partner for the two of you, I believe, right? And I've come to that appreciation in the, what has it been, 10 weeks since I've been here, something like that, not quite 90 days. I think I've gained an appreciation for how my background complements what we're doing here, right? When you think about the two of you being the founders and having built such a remarkable company, a platform that is unmatched in the industry, that has allowed you to capture the 1,000+ different jurisdictions that are on the platform, your sweat equity in getting HS GovTech to where we are today, that was a big part of my evaluation and my determination to come here, because there's an opportunity to work with two very fired up individuals in this space who clearly loves what you do, who clearly has a great appreciation for the community you serve. Why not? Right? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
So a great opportunity for me to come and again, as a partner, bring the set of skills and passion and different experiences that I have to the table, and to complement what you guys already have been doing, to take us to the next level. And that's what this is about. You talked about, Silas, about growth and scale. That's what this partnership is designed to do, is to leverage and harness all the goodness that's been done here over the past, couple of decades, and figure out how we make the right investments and make the right bets to continue to serve our community in the best way possible, and to continue growing as that trusted partner to the different jurisdictions that we serve. So super excited about that. I think there's, when I think about my days in professional services, having, led large teams and some of the significant digital transformations across, whether it's been in telecom space, the enterprise space, healthcare, wherever it's been, I see a lot of how that's translating here with the investments we're making with our own professional services and delivery and support capabilities. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about how do we continue to get better at making the experience for our customers more seamless and more painless, right? And so I think that's where my background uniquely fits in that space.
I really agree with that. It rings so true. And the professional service and implementation background, that was huge for us. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I think anyone watching, they know the real facts of implementation just in general.
Right.
And there's agencies out there who have had to implement software 2-3 times. And it's something that's important that we've talked to our teams about in the past, is like, yes, we need to get better, make it an easier experience for the end user agency, but at the same time, for them not to get overly down on themselves, because this implementation is hard in technology. I think it's uniquely, additionally hard. There's extra elements when it's government. And I don't know if, speaking specifically to like the environmental health space and the core agencies that we've historically served, I don't know that anybody's really figured it out. And what's really exciting to me is I believe, soon to come sort of third path, a different way for an agency to be able to implement. Because if it takes twice as long as you hoped originally, and you still get a good product and it's really great at the end, but your people are gasping for air across the finish line just because they're tired, because it was a lot of work and it took forever, that's not an ideal outcome, because you've exhausted them. And so much talk about the lack of visibility and visibility of the people that work in this space. And it's really true. They have day jobs. Like, it's not uncommon for somebody who has a key role in testing or user acceptance testing in an implementation in an agency to have to do it at night because they were out in the field doing their day job all day.
Right.
And so I don't think anybody's really addressed that holistically, including us. But I actually believe now that there's a path, and I think a big chunk of it is exactly what you said, the experience that's here, knowing the agencies, the market, the needs, but bringing in that outside horsepower, because you've done PS, you've led implementation teams that were bigger than our entire organization. So like, and there are, I think I said to you once, we were talking privately, the hardest thing, the thing about life is interesting for people is perceptions. And the hardest thing that you've ever done is the hardest thing you've ever done, or the most pain you've ever felt that's very personal and unique. And the value of bringing in somebody from the outside with a broad perspective is, if all the core, if all I've ever done, or Silas, is primarily focused on doing this type of platform to environmental health departments, and it's, tough and technical work, that seems really difficult to the people here doing it. But man, some of the stories you've told me about projects you've been involved in, with multinational companies, we're not alone in that. And these departments aren't alone. Huge billion-dollar organizations have the same struggles that they sometimes have when trying to transform and implement. So I don't know if you want to speak any to that word salad, but maybe talk a little bit about your professional services experience, because I think it's just very exciting for what is coming in being able to get our organization lined up in a way to deliver faster, smoother, and in a more calm way from the agency's perspective at the end.
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's whether we're delivering in the GovTech space or telecom space, what I'm coming to appreciate about our customer base, or what we affectionately refer to as the community, right, is the similarities are the same. I mean, these are folk with day jobs who may go through a technology refresh or a technology deployment like this every 5 to 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So it's not something they're accustomed to doing on a day-to-day basis. It's not part of their DNA, right? They're the experts in the space of protecting the public, right? And so we are very mindful of that as a partner. And the goal is, and continues to be, and we've been working on this, for the last few months, is developing a set of go-to-market and delivery capabilities that recognizes the community and the profiles of the folk that we're serving, and again, try to make the process as seamless and painless as it can be. And part of the things we're looking at is, one, we're bringing in additional talent, or investing in additional talent who many folk who come from the industry that are now on our side of the house delivering, so you can relate to the personas of the individuals that you're supporting and the partners that the community that you're delivering toward. We're also investing in tooling to make sure that we're more efficient with how we report and keep customers abreast of how the technology refresh is going, or how that evolution is happening. And then we're also making sure that from a partnering with Silas here from a solution standpoint, that we are leveraging and harnessing all the different experiences and deployments we've done over the thousands of plus agencies that we serve today, to make sure that we are growing into being a more solid and trusted advisor, and we can lead customers down a path of helping them understand we are the experts in this space. We recognize that this is something you do every day, right? So we're going to bring solutions to the table that's going to help solve and address your business needs in a way that gets you on the platform quicker, which gets you to being able to leverage the platform and bring value to your organization faster as well.
And this is not a cover to put you in the hot seat here next. And I know that sometimes people think, well, if you choose speed or the boutique quality
Speed
that we
and
need.
quality,
This
yeah.
is not a nod towards, no, we're going to homogenize it to the point that a lot of the things you love about a platform like this are gone. So maybe speak to that a little bit. And maybe as a, just a refresher, you were episode 1, but maybe like refresh just since there's lots of new reviewers since then, kind of how you got to EH, it became a passion, you've been here ever since, and then like how that now, all that experience that he really referenced here. We have so many people that are still at the company that have over 20 years working specifically in this space. In fact, special thanks and shout out to Liz Colley, who just retired from our support team. She had been here for 23 years
That is
and just retired. It's so rare in this modern economy to be at any job 23 years. That's so very, but that's part of the magic here. Special people that are committed. So anyway, you're kind of how you got here, and then talk a little bit about that and how your new role in CTO, back to your product roots, is going to support and really take it to the next level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember being a college freshman and on the campus of UNCC, and I was actively delivering State of Alaska's first online food worker training program. And so my roots go back to when I was pretty young, and I've been doing this for a while, and it always just gave me this thirst that, especially, not to name names, but former platforms I may have run or designed, that there's always a better way to do it. And that's always just true in technology, but especially, when it comes to the speed of delivery and onboarding. Nobody wants to go through an implementation. It is just a fact. It is a means to an end. And so if we keep that outcome mindset there, my background has always been try to take the pain points out of the implementation. And in GovTech in particular, one of the biggest pain points is requiring the customizations, those things that make the platform that agency's platform. No two government agencies are exactly alike. They may follow the similar regs. If in a food code, you could adopt FDA, but you have local regulatory governances and procedures, workflows that differ. And so my job and passion has always been on, okay, how do you introduce those layered nuances without having to take everybody back through a complete design and rebuild process? And that's really the genesis and the driving passion that gave birth to HS Cloud, is to start with kind of a more low code, no code, to throw out, more technical terms. What does that mean? It allows the customer and those who are working with the customer, our account reps, our project managers, to set up the software as fast as possible and make it feel like it fits like a glove without having to really start from scratch.
And then when you overlay that with, the services capabilities of being able to bring a customer along on that journey and manage their expectations through the process, so that you don't get to the end and there's this big cutover and folk walk in on, leave Friday afternoon and they had one platform and one way of doing business, and they come in on Monday and there's this whole
what
new,
is this?
So I think that, having the services capability and the leadership being able to guide customers through that journey, so there's more of a warm handoff on that Monday morning. When we think about some of the practices that we have in play with the extensive user training that we do, we just cut over one of the largest customers that we have on our platform, a statewide deployment where we invested at least 3 weeks getting 300 plus users trained and ready to go on the platform. And then when we cut them over, when they went live, right, we had a specialized team and a kind of a white glove approach at how we would support them, taking calls throughout the day, handling tickets that were coming in. And by the way, the majority of the tickets that were coming in were permissions and access and these types of things. It had nothing to do with system performance. So it was for me coming in, 10 weeks into the role and being a part of the tail end of that major cutover and seeing our team perform and what they were able to do for that customer, and watching how our platform was also performing, because the proof was in the pudding. When these guys come in and they cut over on day one and they're using the platform
under load,
and you're able to look at those tickets, you could expect tickets to come in because it's change management, right? But when you evaluate the types of tickets that were coming in, none of them had anything to do with the platform or system performance. It was all about continuing to get those users acclimated. And now we're about 2 weeks into that post cutover, and we've seen the number of calls drop dramatically to almost single digits.
It's amazing.
Right. And again, it speaks to both the platform and the technology and investment that we've made, and making sure that it's geared to serve the community in the right way. It's tailored for their needs, and our services capability that's layered on top of that allows us to take the customer through that journey in a more seamless fashion.
It really is exciting because they haven't all go lives in history haven't always been that smooth.
I've never seen a bad go live.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen, right? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, it's a myth, urban legend. And again, that's a testament to our people. Like we've had a lot of new. We've already made the investment. I know there's more on the horizon, but like Ashley Franco coming in as VP of Professional Services, and some of the disciplines and people that have come in around that, in addition to some of the core people who have been here a long time. I think there's a lot of reasons, including that went into it, because you actually made a great point. Just user management and user training can have a big deal as to how smooth the go live is or how many tickets you get. Are they ready for it? Did they get communicated?
Are they ready
with?
on day one? Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it's a very large state deployment. And it's one of the things that's very special about this platform and product and company for EH. We're the only vendor other than the where we previously
partner.
were.
Can I say partner?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a difference between a vendor and a partner.
I agree with that.
No,
Absolutely.
that is a proper call out, and the only partner or platform in the space that can actually and was purpose built to be deployable in a statewide way while still preserving. If you can speak to it a little bit from technically the ability for each of the local departments in the state to still feel like they've got their own sort of sandbox and system. There's no other companies out there who are deploying at scale in states, one or two, much less. I believe we're at 13 now, and it's again, it was purpose built for that. Statewide.
Yeah, I mean, without going on a soapbox too big, it has always been one of those things that we wanted to drive forward. Is that the size of your agency should not be a barrier to whether you adopt something or do not.
Right.
And so we wanted our platform to be as versatile, and whether you are a agency that's covering a county population size 30, 40,000 people, and you've got 6 people on staff that are way overworked, or you are a statewide agency and you are responsible for seeing the rollout of 80, 90 counties or jurisdictions. Our platform has plugged and played near perfectly in both situations. And we want to stay true to that mission, that, the size of your agency, the complexity of your needs, the type of environment we play into, and the use cases keep growing, and that invigorates me, because then we keep pushing the innovation, the change.
And I think that the ability to emphasize your point of being able to play in both lanes, right? To be able to bring a set of solutions to the table for a local jurisdiction that may be locally governed or kind of working on their own, or a statewide type of scenario where you got, in this case, I think it was almost 70 jurisdictions that were governed under that one statewide platform. Our ability to serve both lanes allows us, I think, to own the middle lane in a way that no other competitor can do, right? And I think it's a key differentiator for us.
It's so true, and that's where, again, partner is the right word, because one of the reasons that the technology is one of them in other types of platforms, but the other thing is that if you were to try to implement platforms that weren't thoughtfully purpose-built to give you that flexibility, the states end up with a political nightmare on their hands. And there's a lot of states that great folks up in Montana, worked with them a lot over the last year, and they're at the tail end of their implementation with Ashley, and it's going really quickly compared to certain other ones that may be in previous times for a state. But they were speaking to this recently, which is why it's top of mind. If you were to go with one of those other types of approaches, the state ends up then alienating their local departments because there's not a lot in it for the local agency. They feel like, well, you dictated I have to use it. You made all the decisions about it. I didn't get to have any say.
Right.
The beauty of this is that these states are now able to control what they need to, but through the technology allow the local agencies to have their say on certain things.
Right.
And so instead of it being, oh, the state's making us, it's, I'm so glad the state put this structure together. And we have seen that repeated. Colorado, we've talked about use cases from them actually multiple times, even here on the show. They've really sort of set the stage for this back in 2019. And they proved that you could actually willingly get all of your local partners to consolidate to a platform, and to do it voluntarily and without having to like say, well, your funding depends on it. And there's a lot, we've talked about it before. We actually are going to probably be doing a feature with them coming up where they talk about how they threaded that needle. Because I think, Silas, you saw it in other states that you've worked in. It's really interesting that we actually, in some cases, help become a sort of key connective tissue between a state department of health and local environmental health departments.
Yeah, I mean, you consider the kind of three-dimensional element of actually implementing our software.
Right.
And our agencies are driven by their constituents. Their role is to protect the public, right? And if you consider that this very complex is that, we have to also consider how they are able to better serve their citizens and their constituents. And then when you take that from a statewide level to the local's where the impact is.
Right.
And so if we start at, and where we are as an organization and driving our product forward, and the vision is, if you really focus on how is it always benefiting the citizen, and then working backwards to how does that local jurisdiction need to serve their constituents, all the way up to how does a state need to then provide oversight, get, inclusive reporting on a, county by county or district by district basis. That's not going into great specificity because I do not want to do an architecture review. We can do that for another podcast that's more technical and nerdy, but that is the driving force behind it. We want to serve our agencies because they serve the public and they protect the citizens. And if you have that full spectrum mindset in mind, which we do, I think it keeps us really close to our eye on the ball.
Cameron, you asked me at the onset about why I joined HS GovTech, and this conversation is at the core because just sitting here having this conversation with the two of you, the energy and the fire is just, you can feel it, right? And I could feel it in the earlier part of my onboarding, right? Or even in the earlier conversations about coming here. It's evident between the two founders here of the passion that you have to serve this community. And it's one of the exciting points that brought me to the company, to be honest with you. I just wanted to say that. I know it's not in the part of the conversation, but and here's the thing. It is no surprise to me that out of 38 or so hundred different agencies, our platform is serving over 1,000. So we have over a third of the market.
Yeah.
The conversation here and the fire and the energy that comes out of both of you, it is no surprise to me that we're sitting at that point.
It is. I think that the community knows it too. It's genuine. I've always been a little more towards the nerd side, right? Like, software, things like, but I don't know, ever since radio days when I started, and I think most folks are probably vaguely familiar because it's been touched on here before, but I didn't plan my career to do this. I thought that I'd be sitting behind a microphone or something, and started just reading crazy health inspection reports every Friday. And I don't know, there was just, it spoke to me. It's like when something captures your attention.
Right,
And I also, it was the people going all the way back to Bobby Cobb at Mecklenburg County Health Department. What's been really fun too is at Wake County, you have Andre Pierce, who implemented the product from the first company I started, and now he's at FDA. Like I feel like at this point, we've been on a quarter-century journey together with a lot of these same people, both on the government side, but also here. And yeah, I think it's definitely real. There are days that are stressful. We travel a lot, but it doesn't feel like work. Yeah. And like, it's the old saying, if you love what you do, you never worked a day in your life. Yes, sir, it's a saying, but there's a lot of truth in that saying. And I think you also probably saw some of that. You were at NEHA this year because you got here in May, and we had a great time in Phoenix. And I think it's not just the case of me and Silas, but of the larger core group here.
It definitely
they
permeates.
Were running around that exhibit hall on fire, and they were happy to be there.
I mean, it definitely permeates throughout the entire organization, right? One of the things that we hold dear to is our monthly town halls. We actually have one scheduled later today, where we get together and we try to be as transparent in keeping our organization, our teams updated on how things are moving. And I reflect back to the July town hall. We did a post survey after kind of the review of that day, and you could you could feel the energy coming back from the excitement of the team. Like, folk love working at HS GovTech. The folk that we have, they have a great appreciation for the community that we serve. Saw that at NEHA, right? I'm at NEHA, my first conference, and I'm watching the team that we have there work the room. I'm watching them do demos on site. I'm watching them engage with prospective customers. I'm watching them engage with customers that we have who's coming up to the booth or coming up to the podcast you had set up, and telling me. I ask all of our customers the same question that when I'm meeting them for the first time: why did you choose HS GovTech, right? And it was resounding. It was the people, and it was the platform. And so I had a unique bird's eye view at NEHA because I wasn't in the thick in having to manage things the way you guys were. I could actually sit on the sideline and just watch things. And again, the energy among our own folk and how they collaborate together and the passion they have to show up in a way for our community, right? It was indicative at the conference, but it's also what you don't see is what they're doing behind the scenes every day, whether it's, designing solutions, if it's, demoing solutions for our customers, or even delivering the solutions for our customers. That energy is palpable throughout the company.
And and we've always, I think it's always been a guiding principle of you treat our people like partners. We treat them well. And that was, again, it's part relief, but also excitement, because when there's change, what's going to be really still adhered to. That was one of the things that instantly was just obvious about you, is like, you care, like you have a heart, like you're a good human, is how like a lot, people would generally say out in the world, like just a good person. But again, I don't believe that can be faked. I think somebody can fake that for a little bitty period of time, but then when you hit adversity and you have to make tough decisions, it becomes very obvious, that was like, facade. But I think that's one of the reasons there is a lot of excitement in things now, is because like those core principles about still being good to our people, supporting them, finding better ways to support them, has continued uninterrupted. And again, part relief because you're always nervous when there's change, but it's been really good because we're going to change the things that need to be changed, but we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater in terms of the things that make us uniquely special in the community and to the market. And that's appreciative personally as an employee of the company of that. But I think also it's felt even outside of the organization. Speaking of just a good person. So you're from Dallas, right? We didn't do much in terms of biographical. And like, there's a lot, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but there's a lot of interesting facts about you. When I and I've asked you off air. So my fascination, you're going to know instantly, oh, Cameron's on the bike thing again. But like you ride how many, 125 miles a week?
I do about 100 to 125 miles a week on my road bike.
Dallas, Texas in the summer.
Yes.
And I have that. So like, that's impressive discipline. But you athletics important to you. You played college football as well, didn't you?
I'm a former athlete. I've got all the arthritis and all the bruises to show for it. But former athlete, played college football, Division II, NCAA. For the best years of my life, right?
Your wife and kids appreciate that statement.
I said four of the best years of my life. But yeah, and you mentioned my wife. I met my wife in college. College sweethearts. We actually celebrate our 29th anniversary here next week.
Oh, that's
August
awesome.
31st. 2 adult kids that keep us on our toes. We're at that stage in our life where you're parenting adult kids. It's a totally different thing,
isn't it? Though
than parenting.
My third son actually popped in before we came on the air today, and he starts his freshman year on Tuesday. And man, you're so right. It is different. I have 2 that are graduated now, and then 1 in college there. And yeah, it's a different game. It's so much easier when you could ground them or say no iPad for you. Like,
yeah. No, it's
those
different.
days are
it's
over.
a different game. But
But you found too. Bank of Dad does carry past that 18th and 21st birthday.
Yeah, actually, I think they get more expensive the older they get. To be honest with you.
So I think a lot of people who have played in a professional or organized level in college, you hear a lot of the same thing. Best years of your life. But what do you think that did, like setting you up for, because you've had a career, I believe you London School of Business and you've worked in multinational companies. How consequential were those 4 years and playing, at that level of college athletics? What did that teach you, and how did that sort of shape you for your professional career in business?
I mean, it sports in general for me. I've been an athlete pretty much all my life. I think growing up in Texas, football is a religion, so they hand you a football at 5 years old.
Friday Night Lights,
and I grew up in that space, and just being rooted in a team sports environment, it kind of set the foundation for who I am as a person, my character, but also my leadership ideologies and my leadership belief, right? Which means that no one person on a team gets it done alone. I don't care who you are, right? If you think about the sport of football, you got 11 individuals on each side of the field, and the difference between championship teams and losing teams, and I know this because I've been on the benefit, of having been on both teams. I've been on, my freshman year, I think we went 1-8-1, right? Got a new head coach. And the second year, I think we went 7-5 or 7-3 or something like that. And then my junior and senior year, we were playoff contenders. And the biggest difference was leadership, right? You had someone who understood how to get the members of the team to connect, how to instantiate a certain level of discipline of just doing the simple things right every day. Wasn't monumental. We had the same team that was 1-8-1 that came back and actually ended up contending.
Same roster.
It was the same team.
Wow, so it's all in execution and coaching.
And it was about execution. It was about leadership, and it was about commitment, right? Because I think one of the things we had to figure out was, we all had a role to play. You got 11 individuals on each side of the ball. It only takes one individual to not do their job, and the entire scheme falls apart. And so being able to rely on each other and being able to trust each other, and more importantly, knowing that I have a role to play and I'm not going to let my teammate down. Those are some core principles for me that transferred over into my professional career. And it sounds very basic, and it is very basic, but it's fundamental, right? You think about the 3 of us here. We all have roles to play. Cameron, you are at the tip of the spear when it comes to developing business development and, getting our customers to believe in us, right? Silas is at a core part of ensuring that the platform and the solutions that we bring to the table properly serve the community that we're geared toward, right? My role is to make sure that we have the right people in the right place to serve the community the way we should. And there's a level of congruency that has to be there, right? Whether it's at the leadership level or permeating down throughout the entire culture of the company. And it's exciting to see that, and it's exciting to see that folk are adopting that mentality. You guys know I use it. You brought it up, so I use a lot of sports metaphors, right? They probably get sick of me. Here comes Eric with another football analogy. But no, I think it was a core part of my development, and it influenced a lot of how I approach life and particularly leadership.
Even if you're not a huge sports nut, relates and understands, I think that's why sports is so popular, right? It's almost like a microcosm of life. You have the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, right. human foibles, human achievement, all wrapped up neatly in 60 minutes or 48 minutes, depending on your sport. And I've actually thought at times when you're looking at an organization, there are analogies to what the front office and like a pro sports team has to do. You're looking at your roster, and you may have, we're heavy here, we're light here. And I think when you talk about investments in the organization, part of it is that, right? Making sure that there's a couple of things there, that you're playing people in their natural position, because, it's not unheard of for growing companies to put a lot of hats on people. And you can sometimes I can play power forward, but it's not my natural position. But also then identifying, and it's not even necessarily, in fact, a lot of times it's not an indictment on people on the roster currently, but you've got gaps. We'll get to the product part, but there is a lot of that, right? Of you mentioned the training and the client that just went live. We made some changes to training resources and things, and the outcomes are great. Do you sort of see it that way too? Like you're doing sort of roster management because you want to make sure that you've got all of those key things covered. You've got the right people covering them at those roles. How do you see that from an investment perspective? And because I think, corporate world has made buzzwords out of a lot of things. And when people hear the word upskill, they're like, oh, that's a euphemism for pink slip. But that's not what you mean when you're talking about this. We've seen it in practice. But how do you look at that, like homogenizing a roster and helping it to grow while keeping that root passion and some of those core principles?
Yeah, think about the core of what we do, right? We sell software and we sell services. You do that with people. That's our core. We're not a manufacturing plant where we invest the biggest part of our cost in machinery or materials. Our biggest cost, when you look at our ledger, is our people. And that's what we're in. We're in the people business. And so making sure that you have the right talent and the right seat is critically important for our space, and making sure that we're showing up in the best way every day for the community that we serve. And, a lot of what we've been doing, which is what I think you're touching on, right, is making sure that we understand who we have in house in terms of talent. And if we have gaps, whether it's in a skills gap or experiences gaps, we are investing and closing those gaps, right? And I think I can say this, Silas and I are working now to invest in product management leadership, right? We are looking at bringing in talent to the organization that can, harness the goodness of where we are today with a platform that can put a set of eyes on building this next gen platform that is infused with AI use cases and other things that we've learned that our community needs to continue to serve their base in the right way. Right. And so that's one area that we're going to invest in. We're going to continue investing. We're going to invest in capabilities and tools and all these things that you talked about, kind of refreshing how we approach training. A lot of learnings came from that huge statewide deployment that I referenced earlier in terms of how we're getting that user community ready to use the platform. And we're going to harness those lessons learned and making sure that, as we continue to build out our kind of go live capabilities, moving forward. So that's kind of how I look at it. You're right. It's and you got to be careful with it because, folk can be multi-talented, and it's easy to spread folk thin when you're in an organization as small as ours, but that comes at a cost of the type of how you're able to show up for the community. So our goal, and we're going through kind of an evaluation of our talent now and looking across the organization to make sure we have the right people in the right seats and that they do have the right skills. And no, it's not a euphemism or a backdoor way of saying we're firing folk. That's not the case. We have an exciting workforce that loves what they do. They appreciate the community they serve. And our goal is to make sure that they're outfitted and equipped with the tools and capabilities they need to do it in the best way.
And I think I have a very direct personal angle on that. When you say that you can spread people thin, I personally relate to that. And by the way, I asked for it. So when you're sort of an entrepreneur and a founder, that's what you signed up for.
Right.
But a lot of what's been happening here the last few months, actually, it hit me recently, is almost like a service life extension just for me personally and my own sanity, because you can get so drawn into so many things that need to get done. And having some of this happen, I'm personally seeing the benefit of it. And I'm also seeing, oh, wow, when it doesn't have to be crammed in off the side of my desk or Silas's or somebody else's, hey, that's really good for our creative headspace, but it's also really good for the client, because if you're cramming it in,
right,
they're not getting your best.
Well, they're not getting the best of the best.
That's right. They're not getting your best. Yeah. And then then there's a mental game there, because then you start feeling like, man, I really just didn't nail that. But actually, the right question was, should you have been doing it to start with? And so
but Cameron, I mean, that's that's the beauty of again, the partnership that we now have, harnessing, what you as the founders have built and have gotten us to this point. Again, we're serving over 1,000 jurisdictions and customers in an environment that's 3,800 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's no small feat. But, oftentimes what I've learned in my different experiences, leadership experiences, is the capabilities or the approach that you've taken to get you to a certain point may not be the same approach that's needed to get you to the desired point.
That's a really good point.
And that's where really the nexus of this partnership comes into play, and how I see myself playing a role in coming in and bringing additional muscle to a very strong team already, right? How do we take this to the next level with our community that we serve in mind?
I love that. I think it's important to admit when you're being a little hypocritical. We spend a lot of time, we've talked about multiple guests with it, like the worst answer that we get from a government agency when you say, why are you doing that? We always have. But that creeps in even, like I've literally found there's been instances where I get challenged as we're growing, and I don't have much better of an answer than, well, that's just how we always did it.
Right.
Well, so when something enters your kind of force of gravity and it's in your sphere, it just, unless you consciously try to eject it, it just generally doesn't. That's just humans in general. And so we, this is why this like refresh and partnership is great, because I would say there's a lot of things that are on your plate that I'm so glad are on your plate now.
Yeah. And you even said to me the other day, I think I'm busier right now in this role as CTO than I was as CEO, because you're so hands-on with some very specific, huge projects, which we're going to pivot and talk about. But let's take a quick moment, because this will be out. We're no surprise to anybody, these are recorded. And we have had a little breather since NEHA, where we didn't have a lot of engagements out in the community, but we have quite a few coming up in the month of September. And so just give you a couple of those quick highlights. On September 5th, we will be at the Georgia statewide environmental health conference in Macon, and we will actually I'll be giving a keynote presentation during the luncheon there, and really looking forward to seeing everyone there in Georgia and chatting with you a little bit about the future of technology. We'll be chatting about AI and several other things. Look forward to seeing the good folks in Georgia. On September 9th through the 11th will be, I feel like a comedian, if you go like, you watch a comedian like, Bill Maher or something, I'll be in this. On the 9th and the 11th, will be at the Kentucky Interstate Conference. There's actually FDA partnership on that conference, so it serves as Kentucky statewide, but also folks from as far south as where we are right now, North Carolina, Tennessee, Ohio, they'll all be there, and we'll be presenting there and be talking about some exciting stuff there. That's the 9th through the 11th. That's in Cincinnati, right there by the airport at the Hilton. And then on September 23rd through the 26th, we'll be at the AFDO Pacific region. They have their conference out there, and that includes like the Western Pacific states, Hawaii, and the territories, Guam, American Samoa, who's actually a HS GovTech implemented client. And there'll be 2 keynotes there. I'll be giving one on the future of technology, which is AI and other emerging tech. And Chirag Bhatt will also be doing one of the keynotes there as well. Food safety culture. Is it a cliche, or is it actually a real way of life? And what would that mean? That one got really well received at NEHA. So look forward to that one as well in Honolulu. Not a bad spot to
I'm going to
go
that, right?
speak.
Can I go?
Ask him. The 23rd through the 26th. And in the episode that just hit the channel this week, this past Tuesday we were recording, we showed you the coloring book that was actually initially unveiled at NEHA, and there's some storylines in here, but we've actually been getting people requesting them after we sort of spotlighted it on the show.
My kids do love these, by the way. They're
so
great.
you actually have battle tested this?
Yeah. I got an early copy.
I'm a terrible father. I've had this in my bag since NEHA, and I have not given it to little Cam, but I need to do that. But no, and actually, we were talking about it on the last episode we did. A lot of adults are saying that they already were coloring and they've enjoyed coloring this. So for those of you that have requested one, really appreciate that, and you can do that. So you can contact the show. And also, sorry for another shameless plug, guys, but we're starting to get a much bigger volume of feedback from you guys, and that includes guest ideas or topic ideas, and we're also starting to get some really fun pictures and videos. Hey, I was on an inspection day. You're not going to believe what I just walked into, and we did the video. Did you guys see that one? The one from this past week? Yeah, that McDonald's fry clip?
Putrid.
Yeah. That was. Hey, David, I put you on the spot, my friend.
Right there.
Yeah, I'll give you a warning I did on the last one. If you are eating right now, you might want to stop that. And for those who are on the audio only platforms like Apple, etc., I'll describe this. This is a fry hopper, and the inspector walked in and found that I guess they hadn't used it in a little bit, and it's a big, like, loaf of bread size thing of moldy fries. Isn't that the vilest thing you've ever seen?
And I love McDonald's French fries.
I'm a McDonald's guy, and I'll be traveling. We just talked about for September. I do a lot of Uber Eats and McDonald's, but and it's funny. Caitlin said on that episode, she's like, I didn't think that was possible for a McDonald's fry, because you've had young kids; they're grown now, like mine. You will find it under a car seat, like when you've got younger kids, and it looks like you could put it in an air fryer and it's good to go again. So I don't know how that happened, but
man.
This is the kind of stuff that our people see every day, but we love seeing it. And, we actually were talking about this before we were actually recording today, is the invisibility of the profession. In fact, I put David on the spot again. He's a real pro. That quote from Larry, we were talking with the elected president of NEHA. In fact, we went to the president's reception. You guys met him as well, and we were chatting with him recently on an episode, and he spoke to the same thing we were talking about, completely separate from what we talk about on it. And he wrote an article in the NEHA Journal, and he was talking about how invisible it is, and he actually said on the episode with us that part of it is they're not marketing themselves well. And I think he told me there's one of the reasons this podcast has been responded to well and people have really embraced it is because there's just this void where people have not been highlighting what they're doing or talking about it. And so let's put that quote up if you have it, David, because I think it ties into to what we can talk about here next. Larry Rondon says it's a profession. We're doers. We're not talkers. I can personally testify that's true for most of this community. We solve problems. We move on to the next one. We do not spend enough time claiming what we have done, nor do we get the recognition for our work. And it could be the reason for us being a hidden profession. It really is true. And he had a call to action. Let's work together to claim it. And I think it's a multi-pronged answer. But Eric, you obviously you're coming in, and I think it's one of the strengths, because if you can get groupthink or echo chamber, if everybody in an organization has been doing it for 20 years and doesn't have any outside touch points recently, that can actually be a weakness for an organization. So you come in with superior like business experience, resumes, education, but you hadn't like worked a lot with EH. Just in the short time you've been here, kind of what's been eye-opening for you and kind of giving you an appreciation for, wow, I didn't even know it existed or what they did, but you've come to maybe see it and appreciate it a bit just in the short time here.
Well, it kind of builds on the quote from Larry. And one of the things I picked up on from at NEHA, just kind of watching the room and interacting with different customers, is just how unsung this community is, right? They do critically important work every day in terms of protecting the public and protecting the public's interest. It's not the sexiest work, but it's important work. And, it was an observation on my part that somewhat, further endeared me to understanding the importance of what we do and how we need to show up for that community to make their jobs easier and to make what they do and in terms of protecting citizens and those types of things more efficient.
Yeah. So product, the fun stuff. So I know that we're not just investing in people and processes, but there is a lot of energy around innovation now with the product, and we can take it in several different orders. But actually, Silas, you were talking to some folks recently. One of them is AI, which we're going to talk about. So maybe we'll start there. But I actually think it's important because I actually really was struck by your opinion on what AI actually means and not losing the forest for the trees. So maybe in setting up kind of our vision as we're working into AI here, talk a little bit about that, though, and how you view what the real fundamental driving change factors are coming out of it.
Yeah. So AI, a lot of different slices in terms of the technology. It can drive automation and efficiencies and faster outcomes, speed. When you look at just the history of innovation in general, I like to take, it's more of a philosophical, esoteric approach to it, but you look at what do humans generally do better than any other creature on this planet?
We think, right?
Well, we think, but more than that, we consume. And the more that we are given, the more that we have the opportunity, we will just keep consuming. And so when you look at AI, one of the things that it's going to change predominantly more than anything else is human consumption behavior. And if you consider that in a world where our agencies serve citizens, and citizens are going to be kind of predisposed to, people in general would be predisposed to how they consume software, how they consume information, it's important that we leverage AI in a way that gets ahead of the adoption of the consumption curve. And so what we're wanting to do is not just like, we're going to make this faster, or we're going to make this more automated, and we're going to make it so that you don't have to do your job. That's not the goal. We're trying to yield to the curve that people are going to be used to doing things a little bit different, consuming it different. And so if you look at like the citizen angle backward, I said it on our first podcast, the agencies we serve, government sits in the middle, but the citizens are the bookends. They engage these agencies for an application, some sort of regulatory process. And at the end of the day, that regulatory flow, the inspections, the enforcement, even the accounting piece of it, it goes back to the citizen to engage for payment. And so what we want to do is ensure that we're not just, thinking about the bookends, but we kind of start there in a lot of ways. We start at the root source of, okay, how can we adopt AI to benefit the citizens that has a resounding impact on the agencies we serve? Because if we can help them serve better, their core constituents. I think it positions us as a partner to collectively achieve not just a better outcome and not just talking about AI, because AI is a thing. What are we actually trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve safer communities, better results in public health, trying to reduce the workload and the burden that comes with it. And so, when you look at AI, it's going to change a lot of things, but what we want to be ahead of is how we're going to be able to adopt it and integrate it into our platform and platforms such that our agencies can get ahead of that kind of like presumptive adoption curve and consumption, and allow them to actually not just work faster, more streamlined, but actually serve their citizens and their constituents with more, not just efficiency, but with more quality.
If you apply that theory of we consume more, the internet kind of did that too, right? It was all about better, faster, more consumption.
Netflix would be blockbuster by changing consumption.
That's another good one. Yeah. Netflix and chill. Like, so, well, you're more of my generation, right?
Yep.
Where he's younger, but I remember going and getting a couple, 3 videos for the weekend.
Yep.
Now, I was really bad about accruing late fees.
No.
Shocker.
Rewind.
No.
I did always rewind because nothing would like piss me off more than getting the video. Like you made your popcorn, you got candy, maybe you got your girlfriend, and you're going to watch this movie and it's at the end.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to do that.
You got to spend time at that old VCR rewinding.
Yeah.
Which seemed like it took forever.
Right? It did take forever.
And they get a little older, they start squeaking and they sound like they're going to explode.
Yeah,
man, those were the days. That's it. The consumption I thought was interesting, so I wanted to start there. But we are really, in fact, I'm really excited. A couple of the keynotes that we'll be giving in September that we just referenced are going to be about what we're looking at as some areas of high impact, low hanging fruit, maybe is a way to say it, of where agencies can utilize AI in a way that leverages things that they're already struggling with. And there's also, because they're there to serve, AI holds a lot of promise. Like we talk about foodborne illness outbreaks, the ability to serve, if you have a very diverse community, which is the norm, but if large metros, you might have 50, 60 languages spoken. By definition, they are not set up, budget or otherwise, to be able to serve and talk to all those people, but those people get sick in outbreaks as well, and have a right to the protection of the public service and officials. AI really has the ability to help with that because it can take a report from someone in their native language. It's just, there's a lot there.
It does. And what we're really focused on is, not just, it's kind of augmenting not just the human workforce, but finding the gaps where the human workforce just has no time to get to it. You should be better served, and that's one of the things that AI brings immediate benefit to is not allowing you to have to always start from scratch on an idea, on an email, on a template. And when you talk about foodborne illness, communicable diseases, kind of the epidemiology behind it, the manual outreach, and we saw this during COVID when we released our contact tracing, and AI gives us even greater lift and leverage. But when you talk about foodborne illness and just complaints in general and soliciting that from the public, having the ability to just communicate it in your own native language, your own native tongue, whether it's through text messaging or through a chatbot, I believe is going to be one of those really impactful ways we see AI, and from our lens, where we see AI really benefiting these agencies. Yeah,
absolutely is. And there'll be more coming out on that soon. There's going to be some exciting stuff in the coming weeks and months out of the skunk works of HS GovTech. And again, I date myself too often on here, Eric, but like skunk work, I think actually skunk work is still a thing, but during the Cold War, that was like Lockheed's, like that's where the stealth bomber and stuff, came out of. And it sounds fancier when you say it that way. That's probably why I did that. The other one on product where investment is really being made is the area of, again, streamlining and implementation. And I think maybe one way to say it, correct me if I'm wrong, is if we've got 1,000 agencies using it, yes, every health department has its own unique twists and spins on things. But when you've seen and worked with that many, you have the ability to almost predictively structure and respond. And one of the ways to maybe take the stress out of implementations for the agency is for it not to be as involved as maybe it has been historically, meaning that if there's their neighboring state or jurisdictions already using it, being able to use elements that are the same from other jurisdictions and be able to tuck that in, and it saves implementation time. But that's a longer arc, right? And obviously a lot of pieces to work through. But I think I'm really excited about that one, of the ability to deliver more of a certain modular pre-baked pieces of it, while not giving up that custom config feel that is very important in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of the things that we're focused on now is an internal cross collaboration with our product team led by Silas here, Ashley, who leads professional services, and then our sales organization. It's really just kind of zooming out and looking at the number of deployments that we've done over the past 5 or so years, right, since we've launched the HS Cloud. How our customers are using it, collective majorities, and harnessing the expertise that we have in house, again, to strengthen that whole partnership with customers, because we know this is not what they do day to day, but we also have the bird's eye view of how other customers are using it, and being able to steer customers to a solution that gets them on the platform quicker and gets them to value faster, right? In terms of being able to use the platform to improve what they do day to day. And again, it doesn't mean that we won't still be able to accommodate certain customizations or requirements that customers require. But I think there is something to having that kind of preordained solution set for customers who, again, this is not their day job. This is what we do. We're the experts in this space, and be able to steer them toward a solution that we know is going to address their business needs.
It's added value.
Yeah.
Because we can actually help think through that for them.
And that's one of the things absolutely. And that's one of the things that Eric, you touch on, is the first thing that we partnered with was, how do we, it's not just about delivering faster for speed's sake, because you mentioned it at the top, speed and quality kind of like, they seem like these warring dynamics, but being able to actually walk them through best practices, because the in solution versus the real world version of that process, it's hard to imagine with it, in your mind's eye. And if you just use your mind's eye or a spreadsheet and then think that the software is automatically going to, adapt to that, that's what we're trying to drive towards is, getting them faster proof within the platform of like, here's how you could and should be doing it based upon what we know about your work processes. But of course you can tweak it from there.
Right. There's a lot of people yelling right on or hell yes right now at their computer. Right. Because we get asked sometimes, wait a minute, our neighbor's using this violation library. Why do we have to go through this spread? Right. Like, again, it's the things where they even question, why do we have to do this? Because you guys have done this a bunch already. Right. And so there are people talking to their computer, phone, or TV right now. That's for sure. The thing about EH, and we see this like when we did an episode in sort of in closing, we've done a couple episodes where like inspectors will come on and tell their stories. We watched that McDonald's video, and those things will get into hundreds of thousands of downloads across all platforms. And that's obviously beyond just the EH community. And I think one of the reasons is, and food safety is unique. So EH does everything: septic, pools, daycares. Most of those are somewhat choice or voluntary based by a member of the public. You don't have to, in a lot of cases, live on a lot where you have to put a septic system in. You don't have to go to a swimming pool. You have to eat. Yeah. You don't have a choice. And in this busy environment and culture we have today, eating out in all socioeconomic groups happens. The difference is frequency, where you go, what you order, but everybody eats out. It's just a matter of degrees.
Well, and it's an experience, right? It's not just about, I don't know, you just go to a restaurant. I don't know about you guys, but when my family and I go out, it isn't just going, to eat and drink. It's about the experience I have while I'm there. Because I can cook at home and eat and drink at home. If I'm going to go out, I'm going out for an experience. And the last thing I want is to have a horrible experience that puts me or my family's health at risk.
Exactly. So everybody, I think, can relate to that food safety. And a few years ago, I actually did some director assistants to a group that was doing a TV show about it. Like, it's really something that connects. It's also very intimate. Think about it. You know, this is not that kind of show, so there's probably only one thing that's more intimate than eating.
Yeah, not that show.
Not that show. It is not that show. No, I think you go to, what's it called, like Call Her Daddy or something for that. The free plug, you're welcome. But no, but you're taking an item prepared by a perfect stranger that in a lot of cases you'll never even lay eyes on. They're back behind a door, and you're ingesting it into your body. You're giving it to your children to ingest. It's very intimate. And I think that's why people resonate and tell their stories of bad experiences. You can pass, but like, I think it's universal. Everybody's had an experience or a story where they're like, "That was horrible." You got anything?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, at least for us, we don't necessarily go out to restaurants to just eat or drink. It's about the experience. And one of the stories that come to mind for me is my son, his freshman year, we were dropping him off at college, and the area where his school is, there's a number of eateries, and there's a couple of places that are known to had been there for like decades, and they're like novelty type spots. And so he couldn't wait. He'd read about them on the internet and couldn't wait to have breakfast there, the day of his new student orientation. So we did. We go, it's a little diner, beat up. You can tell it's been there for a while. It's aged. Service was really good. People were super nice. Food looked good. We ordered, we're sitting and we're eating, and we're going, okay, it's not bad. It's typical breakfast items. Until I saw, a visitor or critter crawling across the floor. My wife looks at me, I look at her, I drop my fork, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is just
We're done.
I'm done.
Cockroach? Or
Yeah. Probably. Some type of roach, I don't know what it was. And, in the 4 years that he was there and we would go visit, we never.
You're like a no on that.
Yeah, that's a hard no. Hard no.
Yeah, and so you touched on something else. Like, industry's aware of this. We had on episode Texas Roadhouse, VP of Food Safety, and from Wendy's. Yeah. The big chains want to partner with health departments and because they don't want to be in the habit of making their customers sick or killing them, and they also know that when somebody puts you on a do not go to list, it sticks around for a while.
Especially in the age of where everything is at our fingertips.
Yeah, Instagram.
It's easy just to go on Instagram and snap a photo and go, don't go here.
That's right. It's actually changing the dynamic, and they spoke to that. It's very difficult for them to stay ahead of that curve because you also have bad actors who lie. So,
right.
But it does. I think the food and the intimacy of that really does underscore the effect it has on everybody's life, and it's why it connects and resonates, and it's why our users and viewers in the community really are heroes. Not to mention during COVID, they had to become the mask police and the distancing police. Like, they also sort of seem to get dumped on with the unfunded mandates. So this was great. I want to, maybe we can, like, even if it's like a quick segment every so often, I think probably folks would love to hear about how some of these initiatives are progressing. And maybe we can, keep doing some things from time to time to keep the broader community updated, as it really is an exciting period. Like, the activity level internally day to day with a lot of internal projects firing up. It's a really good energy, and looking forward to it. And I really, truly glad you're here, and look forward to continuing to work with you. And Silas, you two, that there's little change for us in that. Actually, kind of the core kernel that's always been there for us is that ideation of, hey, I just met with, directors from here, and here, and they're really saying this is a pain point. And Silas says, hey, we can solve for that. And I think we'll be able to do it in a more organized, focused way now. But I do just want to thank you. You were, and he may eclipse you in the next few years, but you're best boss I ever had. No pressure, Eric. See if you can pass him off. But no, I thank you for everything you've done for the company. And there's things that no one will ever know that you've had to you face down and deal with. It's challenging growing a company, especially when you don't have, large unlimited budgets and things of that nature. So it's been an honor, and thank you for all that you've done. And I'm really looking forward to this next phase. while Eric handles all of that annoying, complicated business stuff. we could just go blow it out with the product and continue to serve the community. So
no, I mean you do a great job with the podcast and being able to just in our respective just strengths continue to serve. And you did say in this episode that, it started with a microphone in terms of you thought that was the direction you're going to go, but you're still behind a microphone. So full circle.
Can't escape what you love. Huh?
Yeah, I do. I love it. It's fun. It's a communication it's a powerful thing, and I love doing it. And I love the interaction with this community. So, and you've seen, again, you saw today on display an old timer with Silas, new CEO Eric Thomas. It really is, as he said, about the people. And as you saw, we've people with good hearts, but also really good brains and that care about the community. So thank you to both of you all for joining. And we will definitely keep you abreast, because the podcast is powered by HS GovTech. So we will absolutely keep you up to date on some of these initiatives. And I'm sure Eric will pop in from time to time and update us on things and certain announcements as well. For all of us here at Beyond Data Management Podcast, which is powered by HS GovTech, I'm Cameron Garrison. Thanks for joining us for the past hour or so, and we'll see you same time, same channel next week.